Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai hara mai ki te ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Korimako o Taranaki, 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, he was a rising Rugby Union star. He's turned Muay Thai fighter and boxer. He has talent to burn and is a naturally gifted athlete. Built like Tarzan, he is a scary-looking prospect that is doing some amazing things in the ring as he climbs the ranks. And we're doing take two now, Hano. We actually just had a meeting kōrero for about 5 minutes before and didn't realize that we weren't recording. So we got take two now, and we're very lucky to have him on the show. Niwa Barlow, kia ora, brother.
Hey, back on the scene. What's up? What's up? Cheer, my guys.
Oh, we were having such a good yarn too. So we're gonna get right back to where we started, Wano. So stay tuned. Hey, before we do get restarted, ko wai koe no he koe a bit about yourself, where you're from, where you're brought up.
Yeah, brother. So as I said before, just from Wainuiomata down in Wellington. Grew up until I was about my first year of high school down there. And then from high school onwards, I was based in up in Taranaki, New Plymouth. Yeah.
Nice, man. And so for you as a young fella, where did it all start for you? So what hobbies and sports did you play as a kid? Obviously, what was it, always fighting, or was the other sports?
Yeah, so when I started off, bro, I was rugby league was the center of Wainuiomata as far as I knew. So I grew up playing league, also dabbled a little bit in touch, bit of ripper, loved my athletics as well. And then my mother, who was a good squash player, she tried to put the bug in me, but I lost the game to a girl in Palmerston North, bro. And I remember my dad came to that as well, cried in front of everyone, and then pretty much just made a solemn vow to not play again. I can enjoy it now as a casual sport, but not competitively anymore.
Hey, you mentioned your mum. I know she's a great squash player. So you come from sporting pedigree, but not only from mum, from dad too. I used to be ball boy for the Taranaki Rockets, and I remember your dad fondly playing for the Rockets back then. He was a pretty handy footy player. So obviously sports, with mum and dad being heavily involved with sports, it's always been a part of your life, eh?
Yeah, bro. Sports has always been real big for me. I've always had two shining stars, and from a certain angle, and they've always inspired me to do well in that regard. And I guess I've always been able to trust that I come from that as well. So there's always a bit of confidence in the background there as well. Yeah.
Nice. Now, you mentioned earlier you came up to New Plymouth, up to Ngāmotu, and attended boys' high school and started playing rugby there. So what was it about Rugby Union that you really loved once you kind of got into school?
Yeah, so it was a challenge at first, bro. So yeah, I came up to New Plymouth. Mum had a associate who represented boys' high, and he said that it was a good rugby school. So came up here because I was doing fairly well at league down in Wellington. Found it a big obstacle to overcome though. I was quite small at the time in my year 9 year of high school, and just got ragdolled around a bit. So I actually took my second year of high school off rugby to purely focus on lifting weights and getting a bit bigger. The Christmas before, for 6 weeks, my father showed me the ins and outs of the gym. Got me a home gym to have in New Plymouth, and after the 6 weeks of the Christmas break that I'd spent with him, just grinding away down by myself in the dungeon, bro. So that year I went from 58 kgs to 94 kgs, so put on 36 kgs of weight. And it was a big commitment, bro. Like, it was probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life, to be honest. And part of that was there was a lot of negative motivation as well as positive motivation to make those changes. So I was real driven, and I'm always aware that that's the most driven I've ever been. But it was cool, bro. Made some real big changes. I noticed that the following year's rugby, while I was a lot stronger, faster, more athletic, I could always break through the line. But if I was ever to just get tapped from the side or just found myself a little bit off balance, I'd quickly fall over again, bro. So it took another 2 years for my body to adjust to the big change I'd given it. And so I only really started finding true success in my rugby career right at the end of my high school career there, where I cracked into the New Zealand Māori sides and started finding a bit of success for myself. Yeah, bro.
Well, that's an absolute inspiration. The amount of muscle you gained and weight you gained in that year, which shows how much you committed. That's really awesome. And obviously, it helped you because then you then went on to represent Taranaki. I think you were in the Chiefs under-20s at some stage, and New Zealand Māori, as you mentioned. You must be pretty proud of that. And what was that experience like playing at those kind of levels?
Yeah, the experience itself was real cool, bro. I look back with a little bit of regret. Sport is so synonymous with your life, bro. What's going on in your life influences what's happening in your sport. I know around the time, especially of that Chiefs under-20s journey, I definitely wasn't as present as I knew I could have been and taken in as much as I had the capacity to. So it's a little bit unfortunate these things happen, and you learn everything as you must when it comes to you. The New Zealand Māoris, a couple of years prior to the Chiefs experience, was real awesome, bro. I've met some friends there who will be lifelong brothers of mine forever, and that's a real cool element of sport that I love as well, as the mates you make along the way. So the New Zealand Māoris tournament for me was kind of like my first real recognition that I had done something, I guess. Pretty much up until then, it was mostly just self-belief and the belief of my father, who used to push me to do good things. And I know for a long time I wasn't ever really respected in my high school, in my personal high school, for any of my abilities. But I did find that once I'd made that Māori side, once I started playing club footy outside of high school and started to have a real positive experience with my teammates, it really made me start to love the sport, and I definitely did start enjoying it more post high school, for sure.
Wow, that's awesome! Some awesome achievements there, and then kind of following that, you've made the change over to the martial arts space, Muay Thai, boxing. What was it that enticed you to make this shift from rugby union into that space?
Yeah, so it was always a big conversation between me and my father, bro. I had first done my first year of boxing, my last year of intermediate, and I loved fighting, bro. Ever since I'd started doing it, I'd love it, and I'd always done it on the side of my rugby, or whenever rugby season wasn't happening. Not necessarily having fights, but doing the training. And I had 3 fights that year that I took off rugby. I had my first 3 kickboxing fights, and I loved that. And then after that, I was quite keen to pursue martial arts. And I remember me and my father had a talk about it, and pretty much the way it was, rugby is the sporting pathway of New Zealand. That's where the country's resources go. If you want to make money, if you want to help your family out, if you want to do good things, your fast track route is rugby. You do rugby, you make an MCF in rugby, and then after that, you can go and do whatever you want. That was kind of the initial plan. As I started to get into, the Chiefs, touching shoulders with the Chiefs boys and the Taranaki provincial side and whatnot, I kind of realized that, it's like, there's the politics of sports, there's, dealing with injuries, the performing of the skill components and stuff. I kind of just realized, bro, towards the later end of my rugby career, that if I truly believe that I can crack it in rugby, then there's, whether it takes 10 years because, there's not as much resources, whether it takes longer or not because it's fighting, doesn't matter, bro. it's what I love to do, you know. And it was a message I received in so many of the development camps, bro, was if you don't love it, you shouldn't be doing it. And I guess in my head, rugby was more of a means of an end, I guess. You know, it was a business decision, and I was chasing it out of financial prosperity, not necessarily for love of the sport. But yeah, once I'd gone through that process with rugby, shown myself what I could do in a time frame when I'm committed to something, and you know, if I were to sprinkle a little bit of love on top of that, bro, you know, I have no doubt that I'm going to find success in the martial arts side as well. So, yeah, as soon as I'd kind of decided that I cared more about, you know, the sport itself than what it was going to give me, that's when I felt strong enough within myself to tell my father that I wanted to do that and pursue that. Yeah.
Wow, man, for a young man, that's really inspirational, Kōrero, and I hope our listeners at home can understand that. It's the importance of doing something you love over monetary value is absolutely paramount. So that's really awesome, inspirational words there. Now, you've had a few fights over recent years. What are some of the highlights for you, and what's your record at present?
Bro, my record's a shady one. It's like I never know it, bro. To be honest, it's you know, I've had lots of different fights over different periods of time. It sits around somewhere at 12-1, bro. And the one is, I always say it's up to viewer discretion, bro. I always say, you know, I'm not gonna make a stand on it, but go watch it yourself, you know, and you make a choice about it. But my record's somewhere around that, and yeah, bro, my favorite moments, man, is just I love you know, the first fight, bro. There's always something about the first fight. I feel like I can remember it like it was yesterday, bro. And like I was like, must have been like 14, 15. Crazy to think that's how far away it was. But I always talk about the bloodlust, bro. And I love how you've got your little corner of people, and he's got his little corner of people, and you know, you've got support from those ways. But then the entire rest of the room, bro, doesn't care about either of you. They just want someone to get hurt, you know. And it's a real, it's such an interesting environment to be at the center of, you know, where everyone's looking at you and they don't really care if you get smashed or if he gets smashed. They just want someone to get smashed, man. And it's just the energy in the air, just crackles, bro. And I love it. I love the self responsibility that the sport also puts on me. You know, rugby is a team sport, and it's super super enjoyable to win with other people for sure. And then I always felt that losing was even harder, because sometimes you can play a perfect game of rugby and still lose the game, you know, for your position. So I definitely love the self responsibility, and to know what I put in is what I get out every time, you know. And I love that element of it. And I just love the confrontation, bro. Like, as far as sports go, my personal perspective of fighting is that it's so raw and pure, you know, where other sports you might need tools, you know, rugby you need a ball, squash you need a racket. You know, fighting you don't need something outside of you to express yourself. You know, you just get to express yourself however you see fit, and however you see fit, because there are so much less rules in fighting, you know, where other sports will put constrictions and constraints so that you play a game a certain way. Fighting is, who are you? What are you? How do you react to the situation? And we'll see what kind of work you've put in, brother, you know? Yeah, bro, fighting for me just ticks all of the boxes. I absolutely love it, man. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. I'm loving this, Kōrero. That's some really awesome Kōrero there about the importance of, you put the work in, you get the work out. So, that's awesome. Now, I came and watched one of your fights not too long ago. You got a good win against a tough opponent out in Wakahurangi there in Stratford recently. So, where are you at the moment with your fight career, and what's next for Niwa?
Yeah, still very early in my fight career. You know, I've always got a confidence in the background, you know, a belief that I can I can do things. In terms of drilled skills, in terms of time indulged in the sport itself, I'm still very raw. So I'm expecting a lot of growth to come out of these coming years, especially as I've made the decisions to find true sobriety and to really push the limit of my body and my mind in such a way. But yeah, bro, that fight in Stratford, that's still a very early image of what I know I am capable of and where I see my trajectory going. My next fight is to be around sometime in April this year, and then another one soon after. Yeah, I'm hoping to have about 6 fights by the end of the year, bro. But you never know how these things kind of pan out. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome, bro. Well, I think you're going to have a massive future, man, with that kind of mindset and that kind of drive and what you're doing and what you've done. Thanks heaps for sharing an insight into the life of an up-and-coming fighter. The journey you've been on to get to this point and the vision that you have for your career is really inspirational. We look forward to seeing your progress in the sport, and look forward to chatting again in the next future, hopefully with a national title and maybe on the big stage over around the world somewhere, eh?
Nah, for sure, bro. Hey, thank you very much. And I appreciate it, brother. Thanks for the love. Yeah.